Good morning, students. Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to study about the Mughals' relation with other rulers, how they ruled and how they have behaved with other rulers. Mughals campaigned constantly against rulers who did not accept their authority. With the rising their power, many rulers voluntarily joined them. Example, the Rajputs. Many Rajputs married their daughters into the Mughal families. This enabled them to secure high positions. However, many Rajputs resisted in the Mughals as well. It means that all the Rajputs were not ready to join with the Mughals, some were against also. And by this policy of having matrimonial relations with other kingdoms, the Mughals extended their empire. For a long time, the Sisodiya Rajputs refused to accept the authority of the Mughals. They were defeated by the Mughals but were not humiliated by them. They were given their lands back as assignments. Mughals followed the principle of defeating but not humiliating, and this principle of Mughals was followed till they ruled over India. This was the main reason for helping them to extend their influence over many kings and chieftains. But Shivaji was humiliated by Aurangzeb, which was contrary to the norms of Mughals. Yes, but Aurangzeb went against their norms and he humiliated Shivaji. Right. Now, Mansabdari and Jagidari system. Now we move towards the Mansabdari and Jagidari system. Students, Mansabdari means it is an Arabic word which means fixing the place or rank. Mughals they had different chieftains to look after their administrations. Now they gave them post or the highest positions. According to that they were ruling and ministering. As for example, in the present time we have different ministers, cabinet ministers, and according to their ranks and posts they are working. So same thing was followed at the time of Akbar also. The ministers in his court were given the post and the ranks also. With the expansion of the empire, the Mughals recruited diverse bodies of people. They organized the whole machinery of civil military service on a new lines, which was known as Mansabdari system. The Mansabdars were the holders of ranks in the emperor's services. Every commander to public servant was given a rank of Mansab, and each Mansabdar was required to maintain a number of soldiers. There were two types of Mansabs, Jats and Sagar. The first denoting the personal rank of Mansabdars and the second indicating the actual number of effective soldiers that he must maintain. The Mansabdars were directly recruited, promoted, suspended and dismissed by the emperor. Means they had direct link with the rulers kings. Unlike the Jagidari system, the Mansabdar system was not hereditary. The Mansabdars could be transferred by the emperor. They were paid salaries in cash, but the system of giving them jagirs from which they could derive incomes equivalent to the rank was also prevalent. Yes, the salary the paid to the jagirdars was in cash, but apart from there, they were also given the jagirs mean the land by which they could earn the more income. The Mansabdari system is introduced by Akbar and continued with some minor change during the rule of his successor. So this system was started by the Mughal Emperor Akbar and it continued till the other successors of Akbar were ruling over. So till the Mughal Empire was in power. The Mansabdars of high ranks were called Umra and belonged to a ruling class. Later Jahangir created Mansabdaris in large numbers. This meant that they had to wait for long before they received a jagir. There was a shortage of number of jagirs. As a result, many jagirdars tried to extract maximum possible revenue from their jagirs. The system deteriorated in the time of Aurangzeb and collapsed after his death. So this system after Aurangzeb's death also got collapsed, means it got vanished. Now the Zapt and the Zamindari system. So during Akbar's reign, the main source of income was through the peasantry, means through the farming. Through farming, the were earning the taxes. The Mughals had given the term zamindars to those who had the responsibility to collect the taxes from the village headmen, chieftains, and rural elites. So the Mughal rulers has given the duty of collect the taxes from the village farmers to the village headmen, chieftains who were taking care of the villages. These jamindaris would exploit the peasants and try to extract as much as revenue they could. So by this, the zamindars, what they were doing, exploiting the village people and charging their own interest of profits. The Todamal, the Todamal, who was the Akbar's revenue minister, carried out a survey of crop yields prices for a period of 10 years. So he found out a method how this corruption could be stopped. For this, revenue circles were divided in each province with the different revenue rates for different crops. This was known as a zapt. This method was witnessed in all Mughal periods to keep a careful account of revenue and tax. However, this was not possible in Gujarat and the Bengal. Jamindars held an important position during the Akbar's time. So those who were the Jamindar who were collecting the taxes enjoyed a good place in the Akbar's court. There was a great risk of rebellion of Jamindaris along with some peasants of the same caste. There were a number of peasants' revolts which weakened the stability of the Mughal Empire in the 17th century. Now the Akbar's policies. What policies Akbar has taken? So about Akbar's administration, his ruling, his policies, everything is written by a book called Aine Akbari and Akbarnama. These are the royal patron written by Abu Fazl and it consists of 3 volumes. Its last book is known as Aine Akbari. It contains detailed descriptions of the administration laid down by Akbar. According to Abu Fazl, the empire was divided into provinces known as subhas, and each subha was governed by subedar who carried out both political and military functionings. The subhas had a financial officer or a diwan. There were other officers who helped in subedar in maintaining peace and order. They were the military payments, the minister in charge of religious and charitable patronage, military commanders, and town police commanders, who were known as kotwals. In the 1570s, when Akbar was in Fatehpur Sikri, he started discussions on religions with ulamas. Brahmins, ulamas were the chief of the religious. Brahmins, Jewish priests who were Roman Catholics and Zoroastrian. So he discussed with everyone about the religion. These religious discussions took place in the Ibadat Khana. He was interested in the religion and social customs of various peoples. Through these interactions, he could realize that religious scholars who emphasized a ritual and drama were of the bigots. Division and disharmony among the people were carried by their teaching naturally. And this led Akbar to the idea of Sulh-e-Kul or universal peace. And this idea of tolerance was universal in nature, did not discriminate between people of different religions. It was instead of a system of ethics which were eventually accepted. Akbar framed a vision of the government around the idea of Sulkul with the help of Abu Fazl. Jahangir and Shah Jahan followed this principle of governance. So his son, Jahangir and Shah Jahan were Akbar's sons, so they followed this policy also.